This is the Dairy Download, brought to you by EverAg Insights and the International Dairy Foods Association, where we offer extra sharp market and policy insights on dairy. I'm your host, Phil Plord.
And I'm your co-host, Kathleen Wolfley.
This week's episode is about organic dairy. Our two guests have front row seats for watching developments in the organic space. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, Kathleen, where are we now?
All right, Phil, CME spot prices as of Friday, September 26th. CME block cheddar closed at $1.63, down 3 cents on the week. Barrels finished at $1.62, a 2-cent decline. And the spot butter market closed at $1.72, a 3-cent decline on the week, but 10 cents higher from the lows of the week. For the most important thing today, I've got a fun fact to start. Is that okay? Can I start with a fun fact?
Yeah.
The movie Groundhog Day, a Bill Murray classic, came out in 1993. 1993 is also the last time we saw this many milking cows in the U.S. USDA reported August cow numbers at 9.52 million cows. That was up 10,000 head from July to August. And when we look at some of the shifts that they made in the July report, it actually made for a 25,000 head move from report to report. It's kind of hard to imagine that we have this many cows milking in the U.S., given all the talk about tight heifer inventories to start the year. But as we see high beef prices and high prices for these beef on dairy cross calves, encouraging producers to hold on to animals to be surrogates for the cattle industry, I think we find ourselves with just a lot of cows in the pipeline.
Yeah, we're up 176,000 head year over year, which is a pretty stout difference. And even if we were to get into some sort of major liquidation mode, it would take a long time to wear off that surplus. So it seems likely that we're going to have strong milk production for the next several months. And this beef on dairy story and the cattle story, the beef market story still fascinates and to a degree perplexes. Our conversations internally the past week since seeing that milk production report are, well, okay, we've seen a lot of value evaporate on the forward curve. We are looking at margins that are much less robust going forward today than we were looking at 60 days ago. And we've always believed that it takes longer than people think to retool milk production, make it smaller, make it bigger. But the beef thing adds a whole new dimension, right, Kathleen?
Yeah, exactly.
And you could argue on the one hand, well, in a milk price downturn, we'll cull more aggressively because those animals are worth a lot of money in the slaughter line, and so we'll just do it that way. But the other argument would be, hey, look, I'm making $3 per hundredweight of additional income on this beef. We're going to keep these milking cows around to do just what you talked about, to be, a quasi cow calf operation. And I don't think we have a good handle for how that's going to go. But I would say today, I'm leaning for the beef dollars win, which could create some interesting dynamics 2, 3, 6 months from now.
Yeah, why would you kill the profitable income stream, right? If you're making good income off of the calf side of the business, then why would you stop the flow of those animals?
Well, it's pretty much pure profit, right? To some degree.
Right.
It's a low cost enterprise.
I don't know. To your point, I think it makes for some really interesting dynamics as we go into 2026. I know conversations that I've had just within our four walls. Are we not thinking outside of the box enough about where cow numbers could be in the future? It's hard to pinpoint given that whole margin discussion versus calf income discussion. So,
and there's no precedent. It's not like, oh, well, of course, in 1994 or 1998 or whatever. There's no precedent for this. My most important thing right now is how butter risk managers approach 2026. It's a really interesting dynamic there as well. As of yesterday, January through June 2026 butter futures were trading at an average price of $2.11. The whole year is just short of $2.20, I want to say. And if you were to go back 6 months and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. butter procurement person, you can buy 2026 at $2.20 a pound, they would say, well, bring it on. I want to be 100% hedged. That was when butter was at $2.30, $2.40, $2.50. Well, now that butter's less than 170 a pound, 211, 220 kind of looks expensive. And so are people going to say, look, I can lower my budget by 75 cents from 25 to 26. I'll put 225 in there. I'll just go buy it, be done with it. Hooray. Or are they going to say, why would I pay 220 for anything in a world where the spot price is below 170? And that's another one. We don't know how that one's going to play out over the near term. And I think it's important because where that resting bid is, if you will, can be a base off of which we can peg the spot price. If people want to pay 220 for butter for June, that can say certain things about how low the spot price can go at any given time. So to me, butter risk managers, my most important thing right now.
All right, Phil, what's your stat of the week?
I don't remember. I have some numbers written down on my index card.
Fascinating.
I have some numbers written down on my index card. I don't know why some of them are here. 2.49 billion. 2.49 million. That's the number of airport passengers counted by TSA on average on a daily basis year to date through yesterday. And that's 0.4% higher than last year at the same time. And this is just another one of these consumer-oriented statistics that we see that says things are not great, things are not terrible. In this case, things may not be as poor as feared at one time. Airports are just as busy as they were a year ago, but by a very slender margin, basically 10,000 passengers per day year over year. And so we have this economy where you see good numbers one day, you see bad numbers the next day, you try to sort it all out, and it all adds up to we're not really going anywhere, which is ironic that we're using an airport statistic to talk about going nowhere, but it's kind of the way it feels to me. We could find one of these every day, a stat that's mixed at best and doesn't really offer us much color other than to say, things are largely okay, depending on who you are, where you live, what you make, etc.
All right. Well, more fair to middling on news on the U.S. economy. I'm going to stick with a U.S. consumer type stat of the week as well. Mine is 95.9. Deloitte's U.S. Financial Wellbeing Index fell to 95.9 in August. That was down from 99.5 in July, but it is the lowest reading since October 2023. So I think there is some more concern in the consumer sector around, hey, what does the future look like? How confident am I going to be in my incomes going forward? How confident am I going to be in inflation in the coming months? We're seeing similar readings from a University of Michigan consumer sentiment perspective as well. But just found that the metric that we're down to the lowest reading since October 2023 as interesting. Phil, we've been talking about how I did really great last year on my Fearless predictions. And I want to tell you, I'm going to be the first to admit it. I failed miserably in my most recent prediction. I said that over the next 45 days, we weren't going to see CME butter trade below $1.90. Wrong. So I'm going to stick with a butter prediction because why not double down?
Any drama around that? We were wrong in like 35 minutes.
Okay, so since I'm going to double down, we're going to say we will not see CME spot butter trade over $2 for the remainder of the year.
I could be down with that.
It's 40 cents away. What's your Fearless prediction?
I don't want to create trouble here, but I'm looking at FanDuel right now. Josh Allen plus 170 to be the MVP of the NFL.
Oh boy.
The favorite on the board right now. So just, if you want to go back to making Josh Allen predictions, the door is always open.
But yeah, no. I'm going to stay away from football predictions,
Okay,
Can't do it.
I'm going to keep baiting you. Today, block cheddar cheese closed at $162.50 per pound. I think we will see $175 before we see $150.
All right, Phil, let's get to our first guest.
We're excited to welcome Tom Chapman to the show today. Tom is co-CEO for the Organic Trade Association, a member-based organization for organic agriculture and products that's headquartered in Washington, D.C. He has more than 20 years of experience in the organic industry, working in certification and compliance, managing global supply chains, and working with brands, growers, and stakeholders. Tom, welcome to the Dairy Download.
Phil, thanks for having me here.
So, to get started, tell us a little bit about the Organic Trade Association, the members you represent, and your mission.
Yeah, well, you hit it off great with us. We're a membership-based organization representing businesses across the U.S. organic sector. Our membership spans the entirety of the supply chain, so everyone from farmers and producers to aggregators to brands, retailers, certifiers, the entire gambit, as well as all the aisles of a grocery store. So from the produce section to the dairy section, from the grocery section to the frozen section, and even beyond that, personal care, dietary supplements, textiles, we represent all of it, which gives us quite a large membership to work with, but also quite a number of issues as well to work on. Our mission is really to grow and protect the organic marketplace through a unified voice that serves to engage our diverse membership. We do that through a couple different objectives. We try to make sure that the organic brand remains strong and trusted and valued. We seek to have a thriving and diverse and collaborative organic trade and community. We want a membership that's representative and influential, so that policies in DC support the organic sector. Our primary areas of work are advocacy, sharing regulatory expertise with our members, facilitating science and research in the organic sphere, uh, publishing market data, providing technical assistance, and lastly, coordinating messaging and promotion within the sector.
How long has organic been a thing in terms of an organic trade association and representation in Washington and a voice with USDA and other regulators? How long is the organic? How long has that been?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, you're right. On one end, organic's been around forever, but what we know today as the USDA organic seal and what we know today as organic really has its roots. Oddly enough, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. And I just came back from Farm Aid in Minneapolis, and they're also celebrating, 1985 is their 40th anniversary. And that's because the modern organic movement and Farm Aid share the same roots, which was the farm crises of the 1980s when, every day a family farm was going up for auction, export markets, changed, land values dropped, and the get big or get out kind of model was not working. And folks got together, Willie Nelson and Neil Young, and all those folks got together and started Farm Aid to help family farmers. That also spurred a bunch of stakeholders who saw, the way Get Big or Get Out was farming, and wanted to see if there was an alternative route, and that really garnered a lot of support behind the organic movement and an advocacy effort that in 1990 led to the Organic Foods Production Act. So that's 35 years old now. It took quite a while to get the regulations out. They didn't publish until about 2002. So 12 years later, and since then we've had that modern organic seal. In 1990, the organic marketplace was about $1 billion in sales, and today we're over 71. So quite a bit of growth over that time period.
So it's been 40 years, and a lot of that drive was from the producer sector, right? Fast forward to today, it's 2025. How has that marketplace changed for the organic producer or farmer? What are their challenges that they're still facing? What are the big opportunities?
Yeah, so I mean, organic has always been this big tent, bringing together farmers who want to farm a certain type of way and consumers who want to access those products. And it's been this great exchange of basically practices for premiums, right? Consumers are willing to pay a little bit more, and farmers get rewarded for doing those specific practices. That, back in the 1980s, even then, though, while producers wanted to see that change, consumers were also a big part of that factor, and that's still what happens today. So as we look at what's going on in our organic marketplace, there's a lot of interest and excitement from the consumer side. I can go down that route, but you asked me a little bit more about farmers. So let's talk a little bit, more recently with organic. As organic grew, so did organic producers, and we had, tremendous years of growth. And in the dairy sector in particular, we saw that all the way through about 2016. But of course, with all growth comes some growing pains as well. And in 2016, dairy kind of, organic dairy hit some of the same headwinds that we've been seeing in the total dairy market with some declining demand, stagnation in interest, and then that also rolled to the farmer sector. And we've seen kind of flat numbers since 2016 on that side. We've also seen a change in the dynamics of the landscape as organic has grown up a bit. It does match a little bit of the total market in terms of the top dairy producing states, Western dairies being larger than others. But we also have seen unique factors impacting the organic dairy market. A feedstuff crisis in 21 to 23 that drove organic feedstuff costs up really high, and that production model unfortunately didn't work for many of our producers. We had some, short-term relief through the Organic Dairy Market Assistance Program, but that was a tough time navigating through that crisis with our producers. Still today, a trend in the marketplace has been again the strong return. We're now undersupplied in milk, and so there's this strong demand being signaled, higher pay prices, and a lot of efforts by a lot of our members to talk to farmers and convince them to either expand or grow their dairies today.
Let's go back to the consumer demand side of things because, to your point, as it relates to organic dairy, there seems to be a lot of demand that's driving some of that push to grow. What kind of trends are you seeing in that organic space?
Yeah, so let's talk about the market. So $71 billion marketplace. In 2024, organic grew twice the speed of the conventional market. So organic posted a growth rate at 5.2%. The total retail market for food was about 2.5. And we see these strong consumer trends continuing to provide tailwinds behind organic. Consumers that are looking for cleaner product formulations, that are prioritizing their health and wellness, that want to avoid different food additives and production additives, and organic really offers them that solution. We've also seen that organic remains a highly familiar. The only claim more familiar with organic is the term local, which is intrinsically very understandable, but organic being this complex concept of production processes, for it to be the second most familiar is quite important. It's also the most trusted seal out there. So that government-backed seal really provides the consumer with a lot of faith that the product they're buying is truly what it is. And dairy and eggs, as a sector, we measured them together ourselves, but grew 7.7%. It's over $8.5 billion marketplace. And so we see a lot of growth potential there. And we see even the subsectors, a lot of interest in different categories like yogurt growing by 10.5%. We just had our annual conference in DC, had the CEO of Sprouts out there and was just calling out what he saw as exciting brands in the marketplace, and including an organic yogurt brand happened to be the one that he called out as being just an exciting growth area. When we switch to the consumer side, what we're seeing is this generational change where Gen Z and millennials have a significant higher willingness to pay and importance based on organic than we look at the older Gen X and baby boomer generations. And we see those positive headwinds there, continuing into the future as Gen Z enters more of its purchasing power, and Gen Alpha, a little further out there. I have a little Gen Alpha, but when he's ready to start purchasing organic as well, getting into the mix. These younger generations are the first ones to have really grown up with that organic label in the marketplace for their entire adult career.
So that's interesting, Tom. So I know in dairy, we've seen there's a price dimension to it, right? Where when conventional organic prices have gotten close, maybe some things have switched and back and forth. But is that true in other, is that true for baby spinach or other products? And then if I understand you correctly, you're saying there's the underlayment of I'll pay for it is just getting bigger.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, so I'll hit that second one first. The baby boomers, place far less lower willingness to pay and far less importance. So in terms of importance, boomers only about 26% of baby boomers we survey place importance on organic, where Gen Z it's 53%, right? So you see this sea change in importance. It's more than double at that generation. And when you look at their willingness to pay, 49%, so again, about half of Gen Z is willing to pay a premium for organic. Those are just extremely positive trends. And those, factor throughout that marketplace. And so, as these consumers are entering this, they're looking for what it is. Now, as we look across the entirety of the retail landscape, you asked about price inflation. Yes, there's a premium for organic across the grocery store. It varies quite significantly from category to category. So in the grocery section, it's quite small, and has been that way for quite a while. In the produce and dairy sections, it's a bit more significant, but over time those have been decreasing, and so that's also creating opportunity for more consumers to opt up when the time is right for them.
I guess I'm curious, Tom, how is the Maha movement fitting into the push for organic?
Yeah, so I mean, when you look at the Maha movement, what do you see? You see a series of demands for transparency in the food system. You have, on one end, products that are free from food additives, colorants, texturizing agents, preservatives, artificial flavors, and then on the other end, you see this focus on a free from in the production side, avoidance of chemical inputs, avoidance of hormones and antibiotics. And organic we see is really this intrinsic volunteer regulation that really dovetails well with the Maha movement, right? You see farmers don't generally want to be told how to farm. Consumers, while they want these clean products, don't want to be told what they can and can't have. What we really see is this great opportunity here between Maha and organic, where it voluntarily offers the solution to both producers and consumers. Consumers can opt in and get those clean products when they want to, having trust that the organic seal has guaranteed that throughout the processing and handling of the products. And we see it on the production side that not all farmers want to farm that way, and organic doesn't force them to. Over roughly half of our organic farmers are split operations. They have some version of their operations that are conventional and some that are organic. I had the pleasure of being out in Wisconsin earlier this year and visited several organic dairy farms, and there were some that had an organic ranch on a brother's farm and a conventional ranch on their farm, and they worked together to manage both operations and market them, but they really saw the diversity and opportunity in both marketplaces. And with the Maha movement causing people to continue to think about what's in their food and solving that situation for them, we really think, again, this is one of those tailwinds behind organic that are continued to push and grow the marketplace.
All right, Tom, here's the big question. Where do you see the organic industry going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I mean, if you can't tell from our conversation already, you can tell I'm optimistic on this, right? Organic is growing, the tailwinds are strong, and they're too strong to really stop it now. Consumers care about what's in their food, and that trend is going nowhere but increasing. They want to know where it comes from, and they want more choices. We talked about Maha, the changing perceptions, and the consumers really picking up and looking at what's in their ingredients, paying attention to the food additives, paying attention to how that food is made. And while we didn't really talk about it yet, GLP-1s, that's changing the landscape of food consumption as well in American diets. In general, folks on GLP-1s are spending less on food, but they're also purchasing healthier food and making more conscious purchase decisions. And what we see here is actually an opportunity where a lot are seeing GLP-1 in the food sector as being a challenge to growth. We really see this as an opportunity because what it means is there's more health-focused consumers with a little bit more room in their food budget, and that room could potentially go for purchasing, an organic product that aligns with their values. So the question for me is not about growth; it's really about, can we capture this opportunity here? The history of organic has been that our consumer demand has outstripped our production demand, and foreign supplies imports have really filled that gap. And so for me, organic is going to grow. The consumer's there. The consumer wants more of it. My question is, how do we get that value here? How do we make sure our farms, our businesses, our processors here are capturing as much of that marketplace as possible?
Well, Tom, really appreciate you joining us on the Dairy Download and sharing a little bit more with our listeners about the Organic Trade Association.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now let's get the cooperative perspective. We are excited to have Cherie Tauschek join us today. Cherie was appointed as the Executive Vice President of Membership for Organic Valley in early 2025. In this role, she oversees all farmer member touchpoints and pools at Organic Valley. She started with the cooperative as a customer service representative and most recently served as the Vice President of Customer Experience. With 15 years at the cooperative, Cherie has a deep understanding of Organic Valley's mission and operations. And a fun fact, Cherie is originally from South Africa, but she has lived in the U.S. since 1999. Cherie, welcome to the Dairy Download.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right, let's first start out with tell us a little bit about Organic Valley.
This is an organization that I'm very passionate about, just based on my tenure here over the last 15 years, something I love talking about. Organic Valley is a farmer owned cooperative based out of Wisconsin, originally founded by 7 members back in 1988, coming out of the farming crisis. Originally, Organic Valley was actually a produce cooperative, but today we operate in produce, feed, eggs, dairy. Dairy actually now makes up most of our business, with nearly 58% of the U.S. organic dairies being members of our cooperative. I should say we are a mission driven organization and the largest organic cooperative in the US. We promote economic stability for family farms and believe that sustainable farming practices is the only way to go. Our goal, there's more than one, but the ones that stand out to me are to cooperatively market certified organic products produced by our members and to market the best tasting and most wholesome food that also then provides a fair return to our members that will keep them on their land and provide a future for the next generation of farmers.
And now, Cherie, have you always worked on the dairy side of the organization, or have you been in all different bits and pieces across the Organic Valley organization?
In my role in customer experience, I touched all parts of the organization from the dairy side all the way to the meat side, not so much on the produce feed side, but everything in between with touches to supply chain, supply, and obviously marketing and sales.
Where does Organic Valley's milk supply come from? Where the dairy is located? How many farms? How big are the farms?
Organic Valley milk is produced by our member owners across the entire country. We have about 1,600 family farms in our network, and that spans across 28 or 29 states. Most of our farms have less than 100 cows. The average herd size is about 70 cows. And the fun fact, most of our members actually belong to the Plain or Amish community. I would say there's a high concentration of farms here in the Midwest, but also in the Northeast and in the Pacific Northwest down to California.
That's a pretty unique milk shed, right? In that you are in every milk shed for the most part, or most of them, and your farms do tend to be on the smaller side. What are some of the opportunities, but also challenges that go along with that?
Some of the biggest challenges, I would say, I would sum it up into 3 buckets. There's economic, environmental, and regulatory challenges. From an economic standpoint, naturally, organic farming has high input costs. And when you're a small producer, that can actually be a deterrent from even entering the organic farming practices. Additionally, when you see high operational costs, particularly in labor and energy, it makes it difficult to sustain that for a long period of time. There's also market pressures, right? When we see periods where consumer trends have shifted away from, let's say, organic dairy, it's resulted in oversupply of organic milk, which then subsequently could impact farmer pay. There's also the environmental standpoint that can be volatile. I mean, with changing weather patterns, that impacts not just feed quality, but also milk production and in some cases animal health. So that can prove very difficult for those smaller producers. And when you're spread across the United States, it fluctuates, right? California temperatures and climate's not the same as here in Wisconsin. Lastly, as a regulatory standpoint, organic standards are strict, as they should be, but that's also expensive from like a certification and audit perspective. I would say those are probably the challenges that come to mind for me right out of the gate as you were asking that question.
You mentioned that it can be a challenge when you see shifts in trends away from organic and that you find yourself with surplus milk in the marketplace. It seems to me like today we're in a position where organic milk is really tight and that there is this stronger demand for organic milk. We're seeing the fluid milk sales data is pointing to stronger organic milk demand. Are you seeing any trends in the dairy space in terms of interest of dairies to shift toward organic, or are you seeing further transition away from organic production?
It's a great question. And you touched on a consumer demand for healthy food is a main driver for a lot of growth in organic dairy farming. So we are observing more transitions to organic. And despite that growth, we are actually seeing a decline in small family farms and more consolidation and increasing the scale of the remaining farms. But the long and short of it is yes, we're absolutely seeing more transition to organic. We're also in a day and age where we are seeing not just that consolidation of small family farms, but also an aging farmer population. So it does call to question what is the future of the family farm scales. But absolutely, it is a transition to organic, and it is encouraging to also see some younger generations taking interest in organic farming because of the high consumer demand and where we're seeing consumer trends.
In those dairies that are transitioning to organic, what's the push? What's motivating people to shift their farm to organic?
At the end of the day, I think this is a largely personal thing. And in some cases, it's really simple. It's a strong belief that a system of production that mirrors the natural laws of living organisms is the only way to produce food. But there's also the caring for the land that they steward and a respect for that interdependence of human, animal, plant, soil, and global life, if you will. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that organic pay price is also a factor here. For instance, organic pay price is far more stable over time and can be more profitable that will allow long term sustainability for members. So it's twofold. It's a personal belief and it's also economically more stable.
Let's talk about quality. So there's one aspect of quality that's the milk that's going into the facility, the product that's made on the back end, right? What's the quality of the yogurt? What's the quality of the cottage cheese, the fluid milk, et cetera? But what about on the farm side? How are you ensuring product quality through programs like animal welfare trainings and other types of just milk quality trainings that are happening at the farm level?
So there's two main pieces here. Definitely certification and quality testing, but also then resources provided by the cooperative for our producers to ensure high quality. And to your point from earlier, product quality really starts on farm through certification and verification programs, whether that's USDA organic certification or Validus animal care standards, etc. We do test for raw milk quality by collecting milk samples from each producer when we pick up milk from farm. And we test for things like somatic cell count, preliminary incubation count, standard plate count, among other things, right? And those producers are able to see their test results within a day or two, which help them understand what their milk quality is doing over a period of time and where troubleshooting might be needed. Needless to say, we also do robust testing for finished goods. Generally, we have about 80 plus checkpoints all the way through from when we pick up that milk to when it ends up in consumers' hands. We monitor for consumer complaints. And then the second piece is the resource perspective that you touched on programs and services. So the cooperative has regional field staff team and a farm resources team that support our members in troubleshooting, as well as conduct animal welfare workshops. And as a matter of fact, when it comes to animal welfare, Organic Valley has established our own animal welfare standards and pasture standards. But like I mentioned before, we do comply with the FARM standards and do valid certification in some cases for some members.
Before I ask a question about what you're seeing in consumer trends, it's probably helpful for the audience to understand what products does Organic Valley make?
Organic Valley has a wide variety of products. So we have our branded retail products, which includes your typical what I'll call the four white milks. That's your skim 1% or excuse me, 2% whole. But we also have lactose-free options, chocolate milk. Our grass milk is the number one grass milk in the nation right now, and great tasting, but a wide variety of cheeses, including shreds and slices of all kinds. One of my personal favorites is our string cheese, and we produce heavy whipping cream, creamers for coffee. Our butter is delicious. So we do the retail finished goods, but we also do some food service items and ingredients.
We talked a bit about how organic demand is improving here in 2025, and I think you could say 2024 as well. And overall milk availability on the organic side is relatively tight. Is that demand being driven by a shift in consumer preferences?
Yes, consumers are more aware of the benefits of organic, and that's generally out of concern for their own health, but also environmental and animal welfare. More and more consumers are prioritizing products that has cleaner labels, that has fewer ingredients, and that they can feel confident was ethically sourced. We are currently experiencing double-digit growth in some categories, and we really don't see that slowing down anytime soon. We also know that we have generations coming into the consumer space that are far more aware of what is going on within environmental or animal welfare. So we feel confident that we'll continue seeing the demand grow.
Are there specific products in general that are experiencing bigger gains, or are there new products that you're looking to bring to the market or give a refresh to try to hit that demand growth?
Sure. So protein is the name of the game. It seems we are seeing a shift toward higher protein content. For that reason, like string cheese, as an example, is a great protein source. Organic Valley is working on a number of innovations, and I'll stop short of telling you what they are at this moment.
Well, Cherie, now comes the $1,000,000 question. What is your favorite Organic Valley product that's on the market today?
My favorite is probably one of our seasonal products, and should be out in stores shortly. It is our eggnog. If you haven't tried it, it is a game changer. It's delicious.
All right. Well, it is September, so let's give it another month at least until we start seeing eggnog. I'm sure that that's
Right.
wishful thinking on my part, as I've already started to see pumpkin spice things out there.
I know.
Well, Cherie, really appreciate you joining us on the Dairy Download and sharing a little bit more about Organic Valley with our listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
That's a wrap for today's show. As always, we want to thank our production team, Matt Herrick, Mariah Minnick, Andrew Jerome, and Jeff Cullen at IDFA, and Abby Bauer over here at Everag. If you are interested in what Kathleen and I do for our day jobs, check us out at ever.ag. Remember, if you enjoy the show, hit the subscribe button and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
Thanks for listening to the Dairy Download. Until next time, stay sharp.